Evening all, welcome to another Kingscrusher radio show. Let's have a look now, carrying on at the best of the best chess games from the 1950s. The first game I'd like to show you is Fischer against Larsen in the Portoroz Interzonal of 1958. Evening all, welcome to another Let me mute that over there, by the way. So the Portoroz Interzonal was a very interesting and important tournament. I have some background here, information about it from Chess Games site. It was the fourth FIDE Interzonal tournament, and the first one played it outside of Sweden. It was a 21 player round robin, with the top six players qualifying for the Bled Zagreb Belgrade Candidates of 1959 tournament. So in the end, actually, in this particular tournament, Tal was getting really strong. He actually won it with 13.5 out of 20. Petrosian was up there, came third, equal with Palbenko. Fischer in the end got 12 out of 20. This is one of his games against Bent Larsen. So Larsen didn't do well overall in this tournament, actually. Let's have a look here. Okay, so e4 from Fischer. So this is in round 8. And let's add a Kibitzer. And check out Livebook if needed. Connect to Livebook. Okay, so Bent Larsen responded with the Sicilian Defense. We have knight f3, d6. So open Sicilian, no messing around from Fischer. And actually, Bent Larsen dares to play the dragon, the Sicilian dragon. And Fischer did seem to have a very good score against the dragon. He plays bishop e3, so this is like the mainline system, bishop e3, then f3. So getting this battery is very important, trying to exchange off this bishop later, trying to expose these weaknesses on the dark squares. And it also, of course, stops knight g4, and it also strengthens the e4 pawn. So it's a very nice structure to play with in general, queen d2, but very theoretically analysed nowadays. Now here, after knight c6, the main move is bishop c4. Now, black actually took on d4. This is slightly unusual. Quite often games continue with bishop d7. So should this cause concern? This is like a standard continuation where there's hundreds of games from. So would it cause a concern, this early knight takes d4? What's the idea? After bishop takes, we have bishop e6. So maybe trying to grab some dynamic play. If Fischer did take on e6, it does seem as though this should be okay as well, actually, for white. Even though there might be some dynamic play, I think it's fairly okay for white. I'm just thinking this f-file, but actually Fischer just kept the tension. He doesn't mind black taking on b3. Black played queen a5. I'm not sure there's much point actually taking on b3. A takes, and I think white could still maybe even castle queenside. This is okay. So anyway, the tension is kept between these guys, these bishops looking at each other. So we have queen a5. So both sides offering potentially double pawns. But now bishop takes b3 is without a because of that pin. But white castles queenside. Now here, if bishop takes b3, it might be a bad idea to take this. This didn't happen, but to take like that would be a mistake. This looks quite dangerous, this position here. For example, queen e2, there's check, and I think this ends up favouring black. Actually, this is very dangerous. So if this had really happened, and it didn't, maybe c takes is actually the best move here, and it looks terrible to capture away from the centre, but this position apparently should be okay for white. If b4, maybe even bishop takes f6, And this sort of thing is fine for white. So actually taking away from the center in that special case. But I'm taking you away from the game here because actually black didn't take on b3. Black played b5. Then we have king b1. b4. Now knight d5. Now here actually black took on d5 with the bishop. There might have been you might think there's an option with knight takes d5. However, this could end up favouring white after bishop takes g7. It doesn't really matter what black does. We'll have a look at king takes and knight c3. E takes. This position here is better for white because white actually, I think, carries on with attacking intentions basically. So yeah, knight takes d5. It doesn't seem as though this really achieves much. As if white plays bishop takes g7 here, white's still better. On knight c3, b takes. Again, white still is better in this line after c takes. Okay, so yeah, it's interesting for white, more interesting for white. So anyway, we have bishop takes d5, e takes, not e takes, bishop takes d5. But now here is the interesting moment actually, where if black really wanted to play for a draw, it does look as though in this position knight takes d5 was playable. And I say that because I've actually analysed this game recently on the Kingscrusher channel as well, and I remember this seemed to be an interesting point in this game where if black wanted to equalise it, it's here that it seems maybe this is very daring, but queen takes d5 here. And what is white doing? If he takes on g7, we just get the queens off, and black will be more than fine. So yeah, this does seem to be the moment at move 15 where knight takes d5 is possible. If bishop takes here, now knight c3 is somewhat different actually. Bishop takes, this is somewhat different. B takes. And this is just equal. This, if we look at this position, it's equal. So yeah, it was an interesting moment, but black kept some pieces on the game, kept the pieces in the game. Rook ac8, and the bishop was allowed to drop back. And really, this does seem like a very dangerous bishop. It is pinning this pawn, and basically by pinning that pawn, it's making this whole mechanism more effective of the h file. Potentially pinning that pawn. This bishop allowed to live without a counterpart. It's a controversial decision, really. Is there a tactical justification? Rook c7, h4, queen b5. Maybe the tactical justification is maybe to see the bishop as a sort of target with a5, a4. Maybe that was the idea. So it really depends how fast this bishop can be used. We have h5, immediately h5, no messing around. If white did mess around, I think probably he'll be in trouble with a5, or getting close to trouble. So he has to play very accurately. So this immediate h5 by Fischer, immediately. He's trying to make use of this bishop. We have rook fc8. And hg. hg. And now g4. a5. So yeah, is this bishop a target? a4 is the immediate threat. In this position, the very forcing move g5 is played. So Fischer has the idea of, well, a fantastic idea here. Can you see what white plays in this position? So white to play. What would you play with white? Black is potentially, you know, pressing a few things, but you want to play rapidly to exploit the light square bishop, really. Yeah. So what would do that trick to exploit the light square bishop on b3? What would you play with white here? Any ideas? I don't think a4's. I don't think a4's very good. I know, because you go into this pin potentially. Look, if you, for example, like this. Oh, it's devastation actually. Rook takes c2. Oh, that would be just painful. No, a4. No. No, the exchange sack. Yeah, this bishop's firing at this pawn here. And we have g takes h5. If let's see, I don't think there's any alternative. If a4, whoa, this is a resource actually I didn't realize existed actually in this game. There's actually a super resource in this position. This didn't happen in the game, and although I covered this game on my channel, there is a super resource in the a4 line here, which is incredible. For a moment now, I was worried I wouldn't get anything new from this game, but I think I have just now. What would white play in this position? This didn't happen. This is a variation here. So in the game, g takes h5 was played, right? But what would happen if a4? Theoretically, there's a crushing move which is actually super nice. It's super nice. I'll give you 500 points if you can find it. If anyone can find it, 500 points. If you find the second best move, 100 points. Yeah, I'm not sure anyone's going to find it. I didn't know it existed. Apparently, Rook h7 is the absolutely murderous move here. It is a very forcing move. If the rook is taken, it's a mate in 5 with check. Bishop takes g7, threatening mate. Check, and we do get to accelerate the bishop after queen takes g6, and we could make like that or an f7, and we do get to accelerate that bishop. So the key move, it seems, for 500 points, which I didn't expect anyone to get, is Rook h7. I haven't seen it myself, this move. I didn't know it existed. Yeah, so yeah, the check and bishop takes. That's incredible. But also, it has to be said, 100 points for just bishop takes f7. Apparently this is good for white. Bishop takes this position. There's e5. And black's still in the game, though. Black's still in the game. Here, a little bit. It's not as convincing, but it's better for white. More than a pawn, at least. But no, the key move would seem to be Rook h7 in this position. And also, for a moment, I thought actually the idea was Bishop f7. I'm not sure this is doing anything. Bishop takes d4, gives the king g7. It's not that dangerous, is it? If check, King G7, and it's not going anywhere. I don't think anything's happening in particular, just a way of losing all the pieces. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so G takes H5 was played. So forgetting A4. But now G6 celebrates the bishop just in time. Bishop is about to be squished. G6, and we're celebrating that bishop. So it stems from this controversial decision, which may have had some tactical deep basis to it, about this bishop being a target. But this assumption has been disproven here. This bishop is now activated. And the interesting thing about this is, even if the bishop's blunted here, I don't think it matters. This didn't happen because taking is too destructive. I think it's far too destructive after bishop takes. Well, we can just take on E6, winning the rook. There's nothing to blunt the bishop. Yeah, this whole pawn chain's been undermined. It seems E6 is impossible. And if the king took, bishop takes, and again, it's just too soft. I think the pawn structure or the king safety is too much for black to bear. So this bishop's definitely activated with a vengeance. Black plays E5. But now G takes F7, check. And the bishop now has got at least one square secure on D5, but is it protecting C2? So there is a concern about C2 maybe as well. We see the move, very clever move. Now, bishop E3, threatening to crash through with queen takes D6 check. This is just lethal. Example, A4, queen takes D6 check. Here, queen D8 check, and that's just lethal. You know, we could end up with this position where white's just massive, well, not massive material up, but actually there's a checkmate here. There's a checkmate here. Yeah, that's checkmate. So yeah, so can't afford to crash through there, so black played D5. But there's still a concern about C2. If bishop takes D5 here, then it's different. Rook takes C2 is actually not bad for black. Black's at least equal. This would throw away everything for white. If this inaccuracy happened, it's thrown away the entire game. No, the one continuation to keep hold of C2, bishop's still there as a potential target, is to suspend the bishop's rescue mission with E takes D5. Yes, because even here, with the bishop blocked, even here, A4 is not possible. This didn't happen because D6 opens the bishop again with attacking the rook. If A takes, this is harmless for white. This is harmless. Here, if D takes, we take with the queen, harmless. So D6 would get the bishop out again just in time. So black played rook takes F7, but now D6 again, opening up the bishop. So the bishop was never proven as an issue, really. The way Fischer's played it, it's not proven as an issue. And in fact, it's pretty lethal now, this bishop on B3. Bishop G5, and then we've got this crossfire going of the two bishops as well, which is quite lethal because it's taking away a lot of the king escape squares. Both of them together are taking away a lot of these key escape squares of that king. We have queen B7. Now bishop takes F6. And now D7 interrupting that whole rank. And now crashing through with queen D6 check. And black resigned here at move 31. If bishop E7, then that's checkmate. You can see the bishop and queen working more together. Yeah, the bishop's a lethal piece now by this stage. If king G7, this is a mate in 6, check. We can take here. It's just mating. Bishop up. But if you want to see a checkmate, it can go like this, for example. Okay, so yeah, very incisive play. here from Fischer, very incisive. So it seems Black might have had an opportunity to try and equalise, but he wanted, maybe, I suspect, trying to get this bishop to be a target, but that assumption was challenged strongly with this dynamic play from Fischer in this game. So a very interesting game. Okay, hope you enjoyed that one. Let's have a look at another game which was voted like one of the best games of the 50s. So Fischer against Schoen, and I did actually analyze this once. It's actually the Fischer smile video. There's a picture of Fischer smiling, and I was interested to know the game, and it's actually like this game. He was like demonstrating this game on a demo board. I'll give you the link if you want to check that out later. I'll give you the link. So I actually covered that in 2008. Yeah, back in September 2008. I don't know if any of you remember. I did actually cover this game, Fischer against Schoen, but we're going to have a look at it again. Okay, so 1957, New York, US Championship, E4 from Fischer. So James Schoen, C5. Schoen I've seen in real life. He's actually played quite a bit in London in rapid plays, and very, very great player. You know, even later in his career. So great player. Knight F3. I hope he's still alive. Let's just check. James Schoen, 84 years old. Seems to be still kicking around according to chessgames.com. Yeah, he's still around. 84. Okay. I think I've played him actually in rapid play. Yeah, I've played him. Okay, so we have D4, C takes. We have an open Sicilian. Knight F6. Knight C3. A6. So Fischer's favourite, variation here. Well, with the bishop on C4. Yeah, Fischer's system with the bishop on C4, he can really prove this bishop to be deadly sometimes. E6, white castles. B5, bishop B3. B4, the knight goes back to B1. Now Black dare not take on E4 here. I think this would be, it looks too risky. This didn't happen, but it just looks far too risky, this position. Yeah, it's too dangerous. No, the idea was to get some central control playing B4. It wasn't to win the pawn necessarily. Bishop E3, Knight C6, F3. The pawn is supported finally. Bishop E7. Now C3. Yeah, this is an underminable target. This B4 pawn. B takes. Knight takes. Bishop takes. Knight takes C3. Black castles. Rook C1. So yeah, white seems to have a fairly pleasant position here so far. Queen B8. And now an interesting move. This is a loose piece in the position. It's tapped into with Knight D5. This represents, well, I have to say that these two games are kind of, they've got a similar theme actually running through them, of the light square bishop without the counterpart. This is the story of the light square bishop without the counterpart in both these games tonight. So want to reinforce that concept with this game example as well, this light square bishop on B3, because now we see after rook takes C6 there's no counterpart, right? So is it going to be super dangerous on this diagonal like in the other game? We have D takes E4, F takes E4. Now if knight takes E4 here, bishop D5 might be strong. Let's have a look at bishop D5 here, and then rook B6, and you can see that bishop's going to be winning the exchange. So this might not be a desirable a4. So black played queen b5, and we do have this forcing move which looks a little bit peculiar. Rook b6. What is the rook doing on b6? Queen e5. Now bishop d4 offering the pawn again here, and that was declines. Queen g5 declining that pawn. If queen takes e4 here, simply rook e1 actually goes into that skewer line. That's unpleasant. And if here, there might be a small issue. This might not be optimal, this move, because of knight g4. But even here, h3, this is still good for white as well. But yeah, but even stronger would be just g3, just cutting out everything. Actually, first, just g3 cuts out everything, and then take the bishop. It forces, yeah, there's nothing then. Just loses the bishop outright. So there's no point taking this pawn, to cut a long story short. Queen g5 was played. Queen f3. And it's interesting actually, just like the last game, actually these bishops, you know, they seem both quite coordinated on the king side. We see knight d7, but has black got a nice central square here on e5 at least to play with? We see, and also hitting the rook. The rook goes across the 7th thou, some pressure across the 7th rank. Knight e5, queen e2, bishop f6. It looks, in one respect, to be fair, it looks in one respect as though black has done a reasonable job so far of having at least this nice e5 square to play with. It is an isolated pawn, it's a nice blockade on the surface. King h1 is played. There might be an immediate threat, sometimes targeting this bishop along the stuggle. So the king actually tucks away on h1. We have a5, bishop d5, and the bishops look very nice now in the center. Rook ac8. I think there was rook ac8, bishop c3, a4, and it might be nice, well, sometimes to play a3. This is stopped or not. Well, it is kind of stopped with rook a7. But now knight g4. What's black up to? What is black up to? Is black falling to pieces? He's offering this a pawn. Should it be taken? Is it too dangerous? Is this some kind of trap? Well, black is also attacking c3 though, so he's going to get his pawn back surely. Rook takes. He does take on c3, but he's losing a bit of his blockade situation, isn't he? Rook takes c3 is played. This might not have been totally the best move. It might not have been, but it's not too bad. But there's a very nice tactic in this position, and this comes to the demo board image of Fischer smiling. There's a super tactic here, believe it or not. So what would you play with white? So white's playing. Okay, rook takes f7. Now one point of this is that both sides' back rows are actually quite suspect. Both sides are quite suspect here actually. This is the interesting thing about this. It's both sides. Now if rook takes f7, then rook a8 check is mating. Yeah, because there's nothing to stop that. Yeah, it would just be like mating. So definitely black's back row is suspect. But what about white's here? By flicking in this check, Patzer Caesar check. Patzer plays a check, as Fischer says. I think Fischer said that. But no, I'm sure he had great respect for showing. I think that's one of his expressions, isn't it? Fischer, Patzer plays a check. Patzer Caesar check. Patzer play. I'm just gives check. I'm sure that was a Fischer thing, wasn't it? That was a Patzer Caesar check gives check. Okay, I'm sure that was Fischer. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, white's play. This is the brilliant move here, actually. White's play. And there's a photo of Fischer, yeah, which is in that video I've shown you. If you check out that video I've shown you, it's at it's the demo board. If you go 36 seconds in, I want you guys to see the answer. If you go 36 seconds in on this video, you'll see the answer. You can all get 500 points if you cheat. Go 36 seconds in, have a look at the demo board, and Fischer was loving this move. Yeah, not Rook F1 check. This would be a Patzer Caesar check, plays check, but this one doesn't do black. Doesn't do white any favors here, because this rook's now pinned. Yeah, there's no Rook takes F8. It's actually pinned. And furthermore, black is now threatening Rook F takes or Rook C takes on F1. And if there's nothing really, this is very bad. White's just busted here. White would be, that would be it. This you know, Fischer, you know, was a kid here. Would be like, if he played this, you could imagine he'd be distraught here, because there's nothing white actually can do in this position. The evil tactical showing would have shown his tactical prowess off. Yeah, there's nothing really to do here. If bishop c4, I think we could just, can we just actually just take here and take, and queen up, thanks very much. Yeah, so that would be, the evil showing would have triumphed, but there's a wrinkle here which is superb, which Queen F1. So this is Fischer's move, smiling at the demo board. Queen F1. So the threat is now Rook takes F8 checkmate, supported by the Queen. And if, you know, Rook takes, then Rook takes F1 check. Black would be forced to take here and be the exchange down, because if he moves that, then it's checkmate on his back row again. So if he's forced to play Queen takes D5, then we throw in this check and then take the Queen, and we're just the exchange up. It's winning for white. So this move is super powerful, tactical refutation. Queen F1. Black tries H5 in the game. But here is the next trick, because it looks as though, hold on a sec, isn't the queen like pinned here and it's supported by the queen here? Yeah, so here is the next trick. What is the next trick? Next trick move. White play. And actually, I must say, although I covered this game some years ago, I really didn't get immediately. I didn't clearly remember, to be honest, the tactical richness of this interchange here. But this really does emphasize stuff. This next move. So someone's asked about Rook F4 check. Now I can see the logic of it. It's admirable. I would say this logic is admirable because it's sort of like an interference tactic, isn't it? You're interfering with C1. Yeah, it's admirable. Alas, King H7 apparently is check as well. And here black is actually winning because on queen takes C1, rook takes F4, black has a massive attack here, it seems. If you look at this silly rook A4, this bishop's kind of blocked in by its own pawn, and these pieces are like near the king, and in fact black is like crushing white here. It's like nearly a mate in 7, this position. I'll show you the mate in 7. Say we do a poxy move, knight F2 check, knight H3 check, rook F2, and you can see these pieces just heavily converging. I don't think there's any time to do anything here. If E5 trying to protect, then queen takes C1 is, yeah, sorry. So actually, yeah, if queen takes there, then there's the back row issue again. So this is why this is actually crushing. It's threatening this and this. And if queen G1, then can you see the tactic black has here? Black to play here. Well, this is a game of multiple back row tests. Can you navigate your way through them? Well, black can actually just take the queen. But there's also this cute move, I have to point out, rook takes G2, because we get out the back row checkmate after queen C1, queen G1. So anyway, yeah. So whilst rook F4 is a kind of interference tactic, it's not the move. It's not rook F4 interfering and doing the check. It's not that move. So white's play here. Yeah, white has this powerful forcing move which seems absurd. Queen takes C1. Bang. Because after queen takes C1, which looks like almost like mating, right? We have the magic of rook F1. Check. Check. And this position is a rook up for white. Yeah. Yeah. So queen takes C1. It's all over. The writing's on the wall. Showing did play on with queen H4. Is Fischer going to spot this mate in 1 threat? Well, he kind of does actually. He plays rook takes F8, double check. Now it's a mate in 3 of king takes with queen C8 check. Here, rook A7 check, and queen F5 checkmate. So Sherwin wanted to prolong the game for some reason. He played King H7. Fischer plays H3, and one little trick, I don't even know if this actually does anything, played Queen G3, threatening mate again. I'm not sure it does anything. I think it'd just be taken. I don't think it does anything. Check. I mean, there's no more checks, right? Black's only like 2 rooks and a bishop down here. Yeah, but no. Okay. Yeah. Actually, this did happen, yeah. So H3, but not the check. Actually, H4 for some reason. I don't know if Black's going for a stalemate or something. We have Bishop E6 now, and here Sherwin resigned. So move for E6. He's threatened with Bishop F5, and then like Queen C7. Just to give an example, if H3 check, and then that opens up the 7th rank, and then there's like, for example, Rook A7 is actually checkmate here because every escape square's covered. Okay. Yeah, so he did actually resign after Bishop E6. So anyway, yeah, I had my initial interest was in this game was just, yeah, you get this picture of this. It's there's a logic to it. If someone's like really happy about this move, and there's a picture of them showing this move on the demo board, it does create some intrigue, at least for me, what the game was. So if you were ever wondering about that photo, this is the game. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this week, got something out of it, and have a good week. See you next week, probably on Tuesday next week instead of this Wednesday. Okay, thanks very much. Cheers then.